All right. Good morning, Westmore Central. Matt Ferreri, Director of School Counseling, here this morning with Scott Delahunt of the University of Illinois in the first of our college admissions interview series. So, Scott, thank you for being the first to do this for us.
No problem.
All right, Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the University of Illinois.
All right. So I am a regional representative for the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. This is my fourth year at Illinois. And I live in New Jersey and, work with the students in New Jersey and Eastern Pennsylvania, helping them make their college decision and telling them about Illinois and everything about the college admissions process as well.
Great. And Scott, do you actually evaluate the applications coming from New Jersey?
I do. So we actually review based on colleges, and majors specifically. So I don't necessarily review for New Jersey. I may come across New Jersey applications in my reading, but not specifically to me. But I do help. Anytime a student is emailing or asking a question from the area, it would go to me directly.
Okay, great. I'm going to get back to that colleges and majors in a second, but I mean, tell us a little bit about the campus. Kind of what's your favorite part of the campus when students and families take a tour? What should they be on the lookout for? Tell us a little bit about the culture there.
Yeah, so it's a great culture on campus. It is very traditional, in terms of the college, when you walk onto campus, you see the quad, and all the students are there on the quad usually hanging out. One of my favorite traditions actually each year is our quad day, where they have it's the first Sunday before classes start each year. It will be where all the groups and organizations, we have over 18 clubs and organizations on campus, so all of them will line the quad to introduce themselves to you guys as your first years on campus, and you kind of get an idea of who to meet, maybe what clubs you may want to join over the next 4 years, things like that. It's also the culture of Urbana-Champaign is very centered on student life. We have over 56,000 students when you include graduate students. And so the city really revolves around that student life. There's a lot of locally owned restaurants right off campus, and a lot for students to do when you're there.
Okay, great. You kind of addressed some of the fun traditions, quad day being one of them. Any others kind of unique to Illinois that people should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of traditions. Being a big old campus, we have lots of traditions. One of the students' favorites is before we have a statue of Abraham Lincoln in one of the buildings right on the quad, and students actually rub his nose usually before tests or things for good luck. So he's like a bronze statue, but his nose is all rubbed off into gold now. Then there's a really great statue on campus as well called Alma Mater. She's kind of like our mascot there. They always dress her up in different clothing for different holidays and sporting events. So whenever there's a Big Ten game, they dress her up, or for graduation, she's in cap and gown, stuff like that. So a lot of kind of stuff like that for sure.
Yeah, I always love hearing about the different kind of quirky, unique traditions colleges have. That's the first I've heard about Abe Lincoln's nose being rubbed. That's a good nugget there. Tell us a little bit about the academics at the University of Illinois. So, mostly, if I were to major in X, I should go to the University of Illinois. What would you say that would be?
I mean, we have 150 plus majors. We are, I would say, well known for our engineering and business schools. And then I would say the most popular major within that is computer science, for sure. Our computer science program is very competitive. And so engineering and business are as well. But computer science is very competitive. So those are kind of what we're known for, but we do have a lot of really great majors outside of that as well. We get a lot of really great psychology applications. Then we also have within the computer science program, computer science plus X programs, which are combining basically computer science with something else. So there's 11 or 12 of these now, computer science plus statistics, economics, math, even things like animal sciences or education. So there's a lot of different ways to explore computer science on campus, even if you're not specifically in the computer science major within the engineering school. And then we just added a bunch of data science majors as well, which are kind of similar to the CS plus X programs, where the first one is information sciences plus data science. the school is definitely sees a need or students' interest in data science and statistics and things like that students are looking for. So they're adding those kind of majors for students to take part in.
Okay. So certainly big in engineering, big in business. You had mentioned before that the representatives kind of evaluate applications by major.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think this is something sometimes students don't realize or don't necessarily understand. But so is it possible that a student that could have been accepted, let's say as a general humanities major with a certain SAT and GPA, is it reasonable to say, though, that the engineering and the computer science and the business, those standards might be a little bit higher?
Yeah, for sure. Each major has its own standards. Not standards, but we do a holistic review process. So each major is definitely going to be in a little bit different in terms of competitiveness, for sure. Where students in computer science, could have really high test scores and GPA, and still it would maybe be not admissible due to like some sort of something with their major specific essay that we have on our application. And there are ways to like transfer once you're on campus, but computer science is kind of closed off to us once you're on campus. So that is the most competitive. We actually receive over 10,000 applications alone a year just to computer science. Out of our like 60,000 applications, about 10,000 of them were just computer science. So it is very competitive that way. And we, on our application, actually, it's very important on our application to take note of our major specific question. It's about, they're broken into two parts. It's 150 words each. And it really kind of shows an interest in your major and like showing that you understand the major you're applying to. So that is definitely important on our application.
Okay. With so many different majors and the evaluation being slightly different for each school, I mean, is there a typical accepted student to the University of Illinois? Meaning, typically your student should have a GPA of X and an ACT score of Y. Can you kind of ballpark that for us?
Yeah, so we have, if you go on our website or if you just go to Google and type in UIUC middle 50%, it'll bring up all the middle 50% for each individual college. So you can kind of get an idea of like what our ranges are. But it is a holistic review process. So that if you're below that, it doesn't necessarily mean you're definitely going to be denied. If you're above that, it doesn't mean you're going to be admitted. It's really just kind of give you an idea of what our admitted class looked like last year, and to give you an idea of, just an idea of like what you're looking at in terms of who else is applying and being admitted into those majors. So it can give you an idea, but I wouldn't say it's like the end all be all where like if you're not at that range, you're definitely going to be denied, or if you're above that, you're definitely admitted. It's really just more to give you an idea.
Okay, great. And where does the school stand right now in terms of being test optional following COVID? And
yeah, so right now we are completely test optional for seniors. We haven't released a policy for next year for juniors, but I'm sure that'll come out soon. But they are test optional completely for applications this year. We do not penalize you at all if you don't send test scores, which I know is a big question. Like, even for scholarships or honors, it's not looked at any differently. It's just part of the holistic review process. So if you do send test scores, again, I would encourage you to look at that middle 50% to see where you are within that range. And if you feel comfortable with them, with the test scores, and if they represent you well as a student, then maybe send them. If you don't feel comfortable with them, I wouldn't send them, and it's not going to penalize you in any way. We'll just, use the grades and the course rigor, your extracurricular activities, all that kind of other stuff in terms of your application review.
All right, good to know. I know people are always concerned, are they going to get penalized if they don't?
Yes, yeah, I know.
You mentioned course rigor. We're an IB World School, right?
Okay.
We have the IB Diploma program, the IB career-related program. How does that play into the admissions process there?
Yeah, so we definitely look at course rigor in terms of review process. We usually look at it in terms of your high school and like try to see if you challenge yourself within the context of your own high school, because not every high school has the same amount of rigor available. But if you challenge yourself, we do want to see students that if they had opportunities to challenge themselves, we want to see that they challenge themselves. So usually there is a lot of opportunity to do that within an IB school. The other good part of that is we take a lot of IB credits. So if you do decide to come to the University of Illinois, you can transfer a lot of those credits in to help you in terms of whether it be some students like to get a minor or try to double major, and those can definitely help you, speed up your degree process. Again, type into Google UIUC IB credits, and it'll come up a whole list of how we transfer those credits into the university. So it's a good list to see before you end up making your college decision, just to get an idea.
Okay. Is it fair to say, you mentioned evaluate within the context of the school. Is it fair to say that an IB diploma student versus a non-IB diploma student at West Morris, the IB student would get an advantage if all things were equal?
I mean, we would definitely see the course rigor. That would be part of the holistic review process for sure, where they would, we want to see that if they had that available to them and challenge themselves. I think that would probably be something that we see. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Fair. Thank you. So just a couple more questions here about the admissions process in general. Illinois require an essay?
So we do a major specific question where it is 150 words on how you've explored your major over the last 3 to 4 years. And this is important to show like an interest in your major. If you have any, deeper knowledge of your major that you can show off in that, I would try to encourage that as well. And what I always tell students is try to stick to what it says in the essay there. So like the 3 to 4 past years. So don't try to go back. Sometimes students I'll see will go back when they were like talk about why they became interested in their major when they were like a child, or try to give us a lot of context that we don't need. We really are just looking for the how you've explored the major over the last 3 to 4 years, whether that be like a class that you took, an interest outside of school that showed you in that. The other would be, and then the next part of that question is going to be explain in 150 words how you're looking to use your major in your future career goals. So we're really looking again for students to demonstrate an interest in their major, show how they want to use that major, and then some errors I see on that is sometimes students will try to talk about the University of Illinois in that, or classes they're going to take at school. And again, we're really looking for you to talk about yourself and how you're looking to apply that major in the future. So try to stick to like those contexts there. Another piece of advice I would give students for this is to look online we have a website on our, it's called the Program Explorer. And you can click through every single major that we have on our campus. So it's a great tool for you if you're deciding about your major, if you are, anything about that, but it's also a good tool in terms of your short answer, because you can look at exactly how we explain the major. It also gives you program review criteria for each major that we have there. So there are some things in there like, our engineering school look for students that are collaborating, really like to collaborate with students that are trying to make an impact on society. It shows things like that you may want to think about in your extracurricular activities or your major specific question as well. And so I would encourage everyone to look at that Program Explorer before they press submit on their application. And then we do have the Common App essay as well, but I would say the program specific question is definitely more important for us than the Common App essay.
Okay. That's good to hear. And I like, we ask families and students to be thoughtful in the number of applications they're sending out, right? Mm-hmm. It's never been easier to apply to schools now. Yeah. So sometimes people just throw a whole bunch of stuff out there. But I think your point to do the research on the website, Program Explorer, really understand and try to make that connection. And 150 words isn't a lot, right? So they've really got to get to the point.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I try to give that advice, not to put too much, for lack of a better word, like fluff in there. They really need to get to the point of what we're asking. So that is very true.
All right. So you had mentioned, I think, 10,000 applicants last year for computer science. Was that right?
Yes.
And 56,000 students on campus. So how many applications do you get in a cycle?
I believe last year we had over 60,000.
Yeah. So 60,000, right? That takes some time to review. Mm-hmm. And then, how can a student make themselves stand out? We have the 150 words. I understand that, but what are other ways students can get themselves to kind of pop out at you as you're reviewing your team's 60,000 applications?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, those two short answers are definitely important. I would say the extracurricular activities, make sure you're, you only get a limited amount of spots in the Common App to put. So make sure you're using those wisely. If you have anything related to your major, I would encourage to put that in there. And it doesn't necessarily, I think students may get caught up sometimes that they have to be a club or organization related to the school or something like that. And that's not necessarily the case. They can think outside the box a little bit with the extracurricular activities. If they have anything they did self-studying or, part-time jobs, anything like that can be shown on extracurricular activities as well. It doesn't necessarily just have to be clubs or organizations. So definitely use the full, sometimes students will only put like 4 clubs or organizations because they don't think a lot outside the box. So make sure you use all those slots available. And make sure you put the context of the amount of time you've been in those organizations. I think that's a good thing to show as well. If you've been in a club or organization for 4 years consistently, that shows like a commitment to that as well on the application. So I think that can stand out a little bit. But again, I go back to that Program Explorer and make sure you're like looking at that as well and seeing what kind of things we're looking for with each major and you can kind of get ideas of what looking to stand out, because there are a lot of students that will have similar grades and test scores if you send them as you. So it is important to try to make yourself stand out in other ways, like you said.
All right, great. And then just the last question I have for you before we let you go. If you could offer one piece of advice to students, whether they're just starting out the college search process or they are ready to hit submit on their application, which type of student would you offer this advice to, and what is that advice?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I would definitely you take advantage of the college representatives. If you have their email and phone number or anything like that, make sure you ask questions, because each college is going to have a little bit something different to say about what they're looking for in their application. Not every application is going to be reviewed the same at each school. So make sure you definitely ask a lot of questions because the way University of Illinois reviews is going to be a lot different than a smaller liberal arts and college school. So make sure you are asking questions and using the resources you have available to you, whether it be you guys in college and in the school or on our side in the admissions representatives. For students that are maybe like starting out the process, like juniors or even sophomores, you may want to think about like getting a specific email address for your applications, or you're going to get a lot of emails from colleges. So it's good to make sure that you are checking that email, but also not getting it like if it's like an email mixed in with all your other emails, it may get lost in some of that. So you may want to create your own email for a college admissions process as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great piece of advice. Often we have students use their school email for this process, all the way through accepting and then accepting a college offer. Then the summer comes, they're ready to go to college. We've turned off their email and we're no longer getting communication.
Yes, we see that problem all the time. I would definitely encourage you not to apply with your school email if you can, and try to use a Gmail or anything else if you can.
No, really, yeah, good point. Hey, Scott, again, really appreciate you taking the time today to tell us a little bit about the University of Illinois, and I'm sure our students will be in touch with you in the future here with their questions.
All right, I appreciate you having me.
All right, thanks. Stick around while I turn this off. Thanks.
All right.